Hey everyone, Jason here, aspiring entrepreneur, freezing my buns off here in Seattle. We actually woke up to snow this morning. I mean, it gets cold here in Washington, but it's not supposed to be this cold, which is why we chose to live in the city so we don't have to deal with the snow. But anyway, as I digress, I spent the morning playing with more YouTube ads, and the feedback I've gotten from you guys on a couple of the last vlogs was that it was helpful. However, I didn't do a really good job of explaining what the heck I was talking about or what exactly was going on. So per some suggestions, thank you to you guys, I will go ahead, jump into my screen, and I'll walk you through the basics of what I look at when I'm analyzing a campaign for the first time and how I'm making the decisions I am of what to spend money on and what ads to turn off. And then hopefully this will help you as well with your own ad testing. And the methodologies and kind of what to look for is the same whether you're doing Google ads or Facebook ads. It's really the same analysis process. It's just different terms and different ad styles. So with that, let's go ahead, jump in. So today what we're going to do is just go over the campaigns that I set up, the structure, and then at the very end of the video, we'll dive into some juicy data that I have for you. So as we go, it'll kind of just get a little progressively complicated. So the first part of the video is going to pretty much apply across the board to whatever kind of advertising that you are doing. And the only hard and fast rule I have when it comes to advertising is to document and report everything. So you can see here, I have a little snippet of my Evernote here, and sometimes I make little diagrams like this, and sometimes it's just a bunch of text. But essentially what I do is I make sure every time I do a major test, I write down what happened, I write down the observations, and I write down why I make specific decisions and what I plan on doing moving forward. That way I always have a clear ledger that I can go back and look at and see how decisions were made. And this is really important for two reasons. Number one, you don't want to pay to learn something twice. And number two, if you make a mistake in your analysis, it's really easy to go back and see where did you make that assumption or where did you make that mistake, and it's much easier to see how that affected all of your tests after that mistake. And so it's one of those things, like even if you are the only person looking at your account, it's just something to write it down, because you're definitely not going to remember every single test, every single ad, every single campaign. So with that, let's go ahead, take a look at the three campaigns that I have. Now, these campaigns are done running. They ran for about a day and a half, and they drove traffic to this video. So you see we racked up about 4,500 views, and I finally got some thumbs down. So that means that it was performing well. When I don't get thumbs down, that means like I probably didn't reach enough people. So looking at this, the first set of targeting that I did, I targeted affinity and in-market audiences. And it's important to break all of these up into separate campaigns. And affinity and in-market audiences are audiences that Google creates automatically for you. So there's this giant list. It's very similar to how Facebook has their audiences and demographics for you. And you essentially just choose, hey, I want to target business professionals. Hey, I want to target people who are interested in web development or people who are interested in fitness. And you can kind of get as broad or detailed as you want. I always go down to the lowest level I can to be super detailed. And inside of there, just have one affinity or one in-market audience per ad group. And that's because when you're doing the analysis here, it's significantly easier to see what's performing and what's not. And so it just makes it easier for a analysis perspective, even though it takes a little bit of time to make multiple ad groups for each one of your targeting. The second one is audience. An audience represents people who have interacted with the channel or who are similar to the people who've interacted with the channel. And so I'll go ahead and pull up the data for that one in a little bit. And then finally we have channels. And this is where I'm just targeting other channels that are similar to mine that I think those subscribers would be interested in the content that I have. Now, as you can see here, there are a couple. I have really been really selective with the numbers that I look at, because AdWords and Facebook, they give you so much data. It's really hard to know, okay, what should I look at here? What should I look at there? So in doing these tests, what I'm really interested in knowing is how much am I paying? What is my average view rate? And then what does Google think of my essentially video? And so those are the three things that I'm looking at. The core KPI that I'm looking at right now is average cost, because the lower I can get the cost, the more data I can collect in the future. So I'm on a really tight budget. So cost is like the number one KPI, and then followed by those other two. So what I look at here, the first thing I look at is cost. And I go, okay, this one's 4 cents. The other one is 3 cents. Why is this one 4 cents? And I would go ahead and dive in. I just took a screenshot to save time here. So I'd go in, dive in. I would look at the targeting. I would look at my different ad groups and try and figure out, why am I paying more than the other campaigns? And the answer here was the fact that this essentially, all of my audiences are really small. So when you're trying to target a really small subset, you're actually going to wind up paying a premium because there's essentially less space to serve ads to those people. So if you're trying to compete with 5 other people to serve ads to 100 people versus 5 other people to serve ads to 100,000 people, well, the 100,000 people is going to be a lot cheaper because Google has significantly more opportunities to share your ad. I think that's the simplest, that's oversimplifying it for sure, but that's kind of the simplest way to kind of grasp what was going on and why I'm actually going to stop targeting these audiences and similar audiences until maybe I reach like 30 or 50K subscribers, so that the amount of people in that list is large enough where I'm not paying a premium to target a really small subset. Because right now we're just trying to get as many cheap views as possible to help rank the video and push it out of the YouTube black hole. So the next thing I look at is the view rate. And the view rates, essentially, as long as it's above 1%, I am happy. So these all meet the minimum requirements. I'm happy with the 1%. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Look at earned views. What was really interesting was that the channels gave me significantly more earned views than the in-market and Affinity audiences. So I'll get to the math on how this works out later with the average cost. It was kind of interesting to see how the earned views actually changed the average cost per view, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And finally, I look at these display metrics because the display lost rank, that's telling me how relevant is my video to Google. Because as much as Google likes our money, they care more about relevancy. And so while you don't really get a relevancy score with YouTube ads, which is a little frustrating, this is kind of like the next best thing to see how relevant does Google think your ad is to the people that you're asking to serve the ad to. And here you can see that display lost to rank for Affinity in market is 1.69%. I'll take this with a grain of salt though, because I haven't showed up enough time with those audiences for Google to really know how important I am. And I know this because of these two numbers where my impression share is less than 10%, and impression share is essentially how many times could your ad have shown up given everything. And so what this essentially tells me is how much you can scale. As soon as it's above 10%, it gives me an actual number. Then I'll come back to display rank lost and actually care about it. But for now, I apparently just didn't show up enough. I'm not spending enough money for Google to really know for this particular campaign. Google knows, however, for these two campaigns. And so 66% and 53% respectively, that essentially means that 66% of the time, I was not in the running to show up for an ad because Google didn't think my ad was relevant. Now, there's not a whole lot I can do with this one because we're just trying to create a campaign that will work with all sorts of videos, which I'll get to more in the end, why this is just kind of a moot point right now until I have more videos to show. What I care more about now is this impression share because it tells me that there's plenty of room for me to scale and grow as my budget hopefully increases in the future. So I want to touch briefly on the earned views. One of the things that you want to do when you're looking at these is remember that this is an average cost column. This is not the exact column. So what I did is I took the earned view and then I added it to the total views, and then I divided the cost. Oh, I don't have cost. Let me add the cost column real quick. Cost. And then I added the cost column here and divided to see what the actual cost per view was. And so here are the actual cost per view. I'm going to have to read them. So for the channels, the total views was just under 2,000 at 0.0302 cost per view, while Affinity was just over 2,100 and it was 0.0294. So even though these both average out to 3, this guy is much cheaper. So if you're looking for something that's really cheap, I think this is the third video that I'm going to be saying it, is targeting affinity and in-market audiences is going to be the fastest way to get cheap views via display ads. I don't know about in-stream because I haven't done in-stream ads for these types of things yet. So hopefully you're still with me. Hopefully that wasn't too bad, but that's just a really, really brief overview of kind of like how you would analyze things and how would you look at things. The next step you would do, of course, is I would go ahead, I'd go into the different ad groups and channels. I would look at the channels and I would do the exact same analysis over again. I would go into the affinity markets and in market, and I would do the exact same thing over again. I would look at cost. I would look at the view rate. I would look at how many earned views did I get. I would look at the display rank loss to tell me how relevant that audience is to the video that I'm serving. And then I would look at the display impression share to see how much more ad space is available. Because if there's a really high display impression share, there's no point in optimizing because there's only a couple more people that you could have targeted with your budget. What's nice about finding these is you know that you can scale and continue to serve ads to that particular market without running out of new people to essentially reach and connect with. I hope you got some value out of this video. These two campaigns right here and right here, I've already started testing them with this new video. You see it's only at 43 views, posted late last night, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to continue to use these two essentially targeting and ad groups to promote the next 2 or 3 weeks worth of videos to this content videos to the channel. And then I'll be able to come back with you. I'll take the data across all of those videos and aggregate it. And so I'll have one channel, but that one channel will have data for multiple different types of videos. So this list would be super, super long. I'll figure out how to not make another 90-minute, make that video not 90 minutes. So thank you so much for watching. I will continue to keep you updated. I do apologize if these videos just seem ridiculously long or super jumbled. As always, please comment below if you have any questions. It's my goal with this to save you the hundreds of dollars that I'm essentially burning through to figure all this information out. Because if I can figure all this out and tell you, hey, just go target in-market and affinity audiences, you can get less than 5-cent views right out of the gate. And then I'll be happy because I know I did my job with the vlog, and you'll be happy because you saved a bunch of money and you get more views, right? And leads to your business. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. And as always, keep building the business you love. Take care.